Hello and welcome. This is the Market Wrap. I'm Agam Akil. Well, the strength is here to stay for the Nifty, advancing for the first day of this trading week. We've seen a near 50-point up move, not a complete one, of about 47 points to be precise, and just shy of the 11,700 mark. But what a big move for Tata Motors it has been. In fact, it has been moving from strength to strength, and well, currently up as much as 7.5%. TCS again from another Tata Group company, up 5% on the back of earnings. Coal India, Tata Steel, Kotak Mahindra Bank. In fact, it's a lot of these Tata Group companies are doing well today. Cipla, Wipro and JSW Steel also advancing. Wipro ahead of earnings tomorrow. But from the IT pack, we have Infosys looking at a little bit of weakness, of course, after the company has, brought its margins guidance for FY20 downwards. Bharti Infratel, Sun Pharma and GAIL, among others, temperature looking at a little bit of losses, but not too much to speak for. But when it comes to your broader markets, we have two gainers for one loser, and PC Jeweler stands right at the top. It's gained another 13%. We had the likes of KRBL, Gillette India, Rain Industries, of course, positive cues coming from its annual report. Prism Johnson and Ircon International all advancing in trade. On the losing end, we have TV18 Broadcast, likely on account of, well, poor earnings. Indiabuzz Integrated, we have Reliance Communication, Vakrangi and DCB all, well, looking at a little bit of decline. But on the whole, it's turned out to be a reasonably all right day. And on that note, let me bring in our markets editor, Neeraj Shah, for his take. Neeraj, your thoughts?
Interesting day of trade, Agam, simply because the world markets were very, very quiet. Across the world, Asia, Europe, US markets, very, very quiet. But we had some gains, courtesy the Nifty IT and the banks, which were up about 0.5%. But just look at the gains, right? And you had stocks like TCS and Tata Motors moving up, closing at the highest point of the day in late trade, and seeing buy calls coming post that. It just showed the kind of momentum that existed in stocks which are performing. So, one, that was good. You could have done with a bit more with Reliance, and that could have helped the index go on even better. But it's okay. We're waiting for the US markets and how the results carry, and whether or not the results carry the S&P 500 to record high levels or no. If that happens, we are within stone's throw of our record all-time high levels as well. So let's wait and watch if that were to work out. Aside of that, the IMD forecast, they've not gone right all the time, but important, and 96% of normal range is probably not bad. You'd probably accept it with both hands, because the earlier belief was that it will be much worse than that. So if indeed that were to happen and we go over with that sentiment, then that's also probably good news. So all in all, not a bad day of trade. The news flow seemed pretty decent as well. The question mark is whether the results in the latter half of the week, both for the world markets and our markets, can help us continue further.
Absolutely. Well, Neeraj, thank you for that perspective there. And of course, besides the fact that we're watching out for the monsoons, of course, as Neeraj put we are keeping an eye on earnings too. But, well, speaking of earnings, let me just bring in and address two earnings from the IT sector, and this is TCS and Infosys. Earnings largely were in line with street expectations, but as far as TCS is concerned, everything much in order. We've seen growth in its largest vertical, financial services. On the other hand, while earnings were largely in line with the consensus for Infosys too, it was the guidance that could have dampened sentiment for the particular stocks, which is why it came off to a certain extent, where its margins guidance, operating margins specifically, has been projected at around 21 to 23%, and this range has been brought down by 100 basis points from an earlier 22 to 24% for the previous financial year. If say for that, well, its revenue guidance was again in line with consensus, but it was essentially the margins pressure that may be something that investors are considering at this point in time, which is why we saw the stock come off by around 2.9%. But moving from there to the aviation space, well, we're keeping an eye on a big meeting as far as Jet Airways is concerned. And on that note, I'm going to get in Vishwanath Nair to give us or tell us what we're keeping an eye on there.
Right. So, as you said, Agam, we're keeping an eye on the meeting. So, what we understand from our sources is that meeting's already done, where the lenders were discussing the option of extending about 1,500 crore worth of additional debt support to Jet Airways. This was something that they had decided on back on the 25th of March, when the bank-led resolution plan was implemented. After that, a bunch of things had changed, right? So, firstly, the RBI's 12th circular got struck down. So any resolution process under that is no longer has the immunity of being an RBI-led process. So now it's all up to the banks, right? They did not extend those funds. In exchange, at that time, banks had asked for the promoter, Naresh Goyal, as well as Etihad Airways, who's one of the international partners for the company. They hold about 24% stake in the company, to pledge their shareholding, at least a part of it, so that that much security exists with the lenders, and then they can extend this funding. We know that Naresh Goyal has already pledged his equity. 26% has been pledged with Punjab National Bank. This was announced in a stock exchange notification. We're not sure what Etihad has done on its part, so because of which the lenders have not yet given out those funds. Without those funds, the company cannot pay its employees, it cannot pay its vendors. Obviously, the impact of that we are seeing already. A bunch of employees have already announced protest marches. They have currently, the Pilots Guild has decided to defer its strike as well as some kind of legal action against the company. But it is likely that if they are not paid for months, obviously there will be some repercussions. Planes are being grounded repeatedly. Now, over the weekend, we got to know from the Civil Aviation Secretary that there are only 6 or 7 planes of Jet Airways that are flying in the entire fleet. So, obviously, its ability to keep its operations alive is at risk at this stage. So, unless it gets those funds, more planes cannot get up on air, employees will not continue their work. And obviously, if there are disgruntled employees, then the Civil Aviation Secretary has pointed out that there is a risk of customer safety. And therefore, they have been in constant communication with the company to ensure that the customer's safety is paramount, and that needs to be maintained at full. We will get to know over the course of today or probably tomorrow whether the lenders are extending that fund, that 1,500 crore immediate debt support or not. But yes, at this stage, things look a little difficult for Jet Airways. There has already been EOI process that was completed. 6 participants have put in their interest. A final bid is expected by the 30th of April. So in the interim, these bidders will go through the financials of Jet Airways and decide whether it's something that they want to participate in or not. What we understand is that on Thursday, just a day before the deadline for the EOIs ended, SBI Capital, which is running the process for the lenders, had a conference call with all of these bidders. They were explained the current status of the airline, and it seemed that the interest amongst all of those players seemed to lessen, because obviously there's nothing much to save in the airline. We'll get to know details of that over the next couple of weeks as and when the final bid comes in. But yes, that's where Jet Airways stands at this point.
Okay, well, Vishnu, thank you for getting us those details. So, well, Jet Airways and its challenges remains a developing story, and we will continue to get more as and when we have more news on this as well. We keep an eye on this one. And on that note, it's a wrap on the markets. So lots more lined up. Stay tuned to Bloomberg.